Looking up, Ricky said he could not see the edge of the craft in any direction.
You couldn't see the edge of it?
Couldn't see the edge of it. But I do know this, it's bigger. You could have landed an airplane on that, I believe.
God, it's an incredible story.
Nothing, no sound, no when it was hovering, nothing when it moved from left to right, and nothing when it took off. You know, I seen no nuts, bolts, rivets, seams, no welds, none of this. It looked like a piece of sheet metal, and this is what I had a hard time with, was if something was to leave, in my mind, it should pivot up and go, like an airplane would. This did not do that. This stayed completely flat, and it went at a 45-degree angle away. And it took off at such a high rate of speed that no one can describe it as if I would have blinked. I would have thought it just disappeared.
Chris Lado, welcome to Lado Files. There was a witness in the Stephenville UFO in 2008. Stephenville is a small town in Texas near Crawford Ranch. Crawford Ranch is where George Bush used to go when he was president. He may have even been there at the time of this amazing UFO story. So multiple witnesses. Stephenville is now in the news. Let's go through and look through this amazing UFO sighting from 2008. Check it out.
Good evening. Last week, several people in Stephenville, Texas, a small rural town of about 15,000, 70 miles southwest of Fort Worth, witnessed what many are calling a UFO. James Fox, I know you've been probing this for a long time. We've never got an answer to this. Why do you think the Air Force doesn't want this out?
Well, I mean, what are they going to say? We don't know what's flying around in our airspace with impunity.
Why can't they say that?
I think that possibly could. I wish they would. If the Air Force is listening tonight, why don't you tell us the truth?
So this is from Stephenville, Texas, 2008. Jamie Foxx, he just recently made moment of contact in Virginia from last year. There he is again. Amazing stuff in Stephenville. MUFON actually did an investigation into this, and NPR did multiple articles that we'll go over in a second. There is Jamie Foxx right there talking with this, rancher out there. These people, they have nothing to gain by lying and saying these stories. And this next one here is from a policeman. Check out this one.
You could have had a train go in front of me and I would have probably heard it because I was so focused on these lights, but I do not remember hearing any noise at all whatsoever.
How would you describe the acceleration?
Probably the speed of light. And I tried keeping up with my binoculars and I couldn't.
This case, so far, qualifies for that 5%. The lack of sound, the speed of the object, and apparently the military's interest.
There were two jets coming from that direction this way, and I did hear the jets.
Okay, this is just an article from 8 May. UFO chase with 2 fighter jets spotted by 300 stunned witnesses of the hot pursuit. Radar footage of 2 fighter jets chasing around a dozen UFOs traveling in unison at 1,900 miles per hour is being studied by curious defense chiefs at the United States Air Force. So this is from DailyStar. I thought it was some new information. There's F-16s. That's what I flew. Amazing stuff. I don't recognize this tail flash, and usually it tells you where they're from here. But yeah, there's a targeting pod right there. That's a sniper targeting pod. Same basic technology that the F-18s captured, the gimbal, the Go Fast, and FLIR 1. This says radar footage of a chase between 2 fighter jets and a mile-wide fleet of 1,900 mile-per-hour UFOs is being studied. Up to 300 locals reported it. This was 15 years ago. At first, the U.S. Air Force denied any of its jets were in the area at the time. Then it conceded there had been an internal communications mistake and the aircraft had been near the remote town of Stephenville when hundreds of locals reported the pursuit. So there they had to actually change their mind. We'll go through that in a second. This is a short article. But military chiefs still refused to acknowledge the giant line of fluorescent orbs shooting away from the jets. This is in the radar footage as well that we'll look at in a second. It says the radar footage, the existence of it was revealed in National Geographic's bombshell news series, UFOs Investigating the Unknown, screened on Monday, April 8th at night. And Christopher Mellon said it's very intriguing. Eyewitness Leroy Gayton, a police officer, said he looked out of his car and saw 10 to 12 fluorescent orbs. And this is Leroy Gayton right here.
In front of me and I would have probably heard it because I was so focused on these lights, but I do not remember hearing any noise at all whatsoever.
That was Leroy Gayton, right? The police officer. He said they were moving really quickly and then they stopped. And then all of a sudden they shot off 10 to 12 fluorescent orbs. I mean, there we are again with the orbs. Seconds later, he saw the F-16s race past. Amazing stuff. Private airline pilot Steve Allen, who was camping out with pals nearby, said he noticed some lights coming at us at a very high rate of speed. There he is, Steve Allen. We saw craft coming from the east going west. They had extremely large lights like magnesium flare. It almost burnt your eyes to look at it. He said it was moving extremely fast, faster than any normal aircraft. As we watched it, we saw there were two F-16s in hot pursuit after chasing it. It was unbelievable. It left us all in shock. It was out of this world. Wow, look at that. This is now from NPR. Dozens claim they spotted UFO in Texas. If you listen to it, it's actually quite good, the audio version of it. So links to all these are in the description, but we'll just read through it. Faster than a speeding bullet and bigger than a Walmart. Wow, listen to that. Bigger than a, is it a super Walmart or a regular Walmart? Now we're just trying to figure out, we need to come up with like different scales of Walmarts, apparently. If you looked at my last video with Mario Woods. That's how residents near the West Texas town of Stephenville described an object they spotted in the sky one night last week. Okay, so this was January 16, 2008. Dozens of people, including a pilot and a police officer we just saw there, said a UFO hovered over the farming community for about 5 minutes last Tuesday before streaking away into the night sky. It's crazy how it streaked away too. The witness testimony is just amazing. Pilot Steve Allen saw the object when he was out clearing brush off a hilltop near the town of Selden. Allen described the unidentified object as being an enormous aircraft with flashing strobe lights, and it was totally silent. He said the UFO sped away at more than 3,000 miles per hour, followed by two fighter jets that were hopelessly outmaneuvered. Allen said it took the aircraft just a few seconds to cross a section of sky that it takes him 20 minutes to fly in his Cessna. The veteran pilot said the UFO, an estimated half-mile wide and a mile long, was bigger than a Walmart. Bigger than a Walmart. Mario Woods said super Walmart last week. Just amazing stuff. We're going to have to come up with, again, different scales of Walmarts. Is it a Walmart? Is it a super Walmart? Is it a super Walmart? Like, how big are these things? But a mile wide is what they're seeing. Of course, the military dismisses the sighting. The Stephenville Empire-Tribune, which has written about the mysterious object, said about 40 people saw the thing, though some were too sheepish to admit the sighting until others came forward. Law enforcement Leroy Gayton again said he was walking to his car when he saw a red glow that reminded him of pictures he'd seen of an erupting volcano. He said the object was suspended 3,000 feet in the air, so about half a mile. Gayton said he was so awestruck that he called his son to come and see. But he didn't talk much about the sighting until he saw a story about a UFO in the local paper. Military officials, however, were skeptical. As always, they said the residents are letting their imaginations run wild and passed it off as an optical illusion. They said it was likely nothing more than a reflection of sunlight on two airliners and two F-16s chasing after it. Officials at a nearby Air Force base also said their fighter pilots didn't chase down anything that night. Let's see if they change that story. The incident was eerily similar to a UFO sighting a little more than a year ago at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. I've heard a little bit about that. I haven't fully investigated it. As many as 12 United Airlines employees spotted the object and filed reports with United, but then they were told, no, we don't listen or trust anyone that tells us anything we're not prepared to hear. Okay, so that was the first article, right? January 16th there. Now we go to the next article. So now January 24th, Air Force alters Texas UFO explanation. Here we are. Oh, look. The Air Force is changing its story on what happened on a recent night in Stephenville, Texas, when dozens of witnesses say they spotted a UFO. 2 weeks ago, witnesses reported seeing a large aircraft with white lights hovering for about 5 minutes before being chased away by jet fighters. The Air Force Reserve in nearby Fort Worth initially scoffed at reports and denied the possibility that it had fighters in the area. Air Force officials reversed course Wednesday, however, and admitted there were nearly a dozen F-16s over Stephenville that night. Oh, you mean over there? We may have had 12. 12 is quite a few F-16s. That's a whole squadron. Does this new revelation bolster or cast doubt on the witnesses' stories? The night of the supposed UFO sighting, just after 6 p.m., Claudette Odom, her husband, and two other friends were clearing brush near her house. They were standing on top of a hill with visibility that extended more than 20 miles in every direction. From out of the west, Odom saw an object approach in the darkness. I've never seen anything that fast, maybe a rock or a missile or something, she says. Odom says they watched in wonder as the aircraft approached Stephenville and then silently hovered outside the outskirts of town. That's not creepy. The lights flickered, then went solid, shaping into a massive arch, she says. before forming a single bright vertical line that split into two. That's just insane. Let's read this again. Just look at this. Odom says they watched in wonder as the aircraft approached Stephenville and then silently hovered outside the outskirts of town. So it's just creeping up there like, oh, what's over here? The lights flickered, then went solid, shaping into a massive arch, she says, before forming a single bright vertical line that split into two. They were extremely bright, like an arc on a welder. They were that sharp, Odom says. As they watched the object hover in place, they were startled by the explosive sound of two F-16 screaming directly over their hill at low altitude, heading toward the UFO, she recalls. So F-16s flying low overhead is very, very loud. That's what we use as our show of force. It also can surprise you. So I know exactly what she's talking about. The matter of the jets. Whether there were military jets in the area that night was the first substantive doubt that was cast on the UFO witnesses' credibility. You saw jets out there? We've never seen any. When contacted, the Air Force at Carswell Field near Fort Worth stated that we definitely didn't have any fighter jets over Stephenville that night, not near Crawford Ranch. The officials suggest the UFO witnesses might have seen an optical illusion. So why do I keep bringing up Crawford Ranch? The reason is wherever the president is, there has to be at least a two-ship or more of fighters. I don't know the extra rules. I never set the alert, but fighters always on call, able to get there very quickly. And so it's 70 miles southwest of Fort Worth. That means they're going to be the base tasked with covering the president whenever he's at Crawford Ranch, whenever he's at his ranch. So interesting to know, was the president there when this event happened? I love my job. When Odom heard the Air Force's response, she says she knew that something was amiss. And this is how it's going to change, okay? Well, it turns out we're not all idiots. I don't know what they're trying to cover up. We saw what we saw. I knew they were fighter jets, he says. Now, 2 weeks later, in a plot line that's out of the X-Files, Air Force officials are saying that there was a communication error. They concede that they had F-16s flying over Stephenville, Texas on the evening of January 8. Oh, yes, F-16s. Yes, we have 12 of those, actually. Major Carl Lewis attributes the change in response to an internal communications mistake. Yes, we asked, and they said, oh, we thought you said F-18s. There was an error that was reported. We corrected that error as soon as possible when it came out in the news. Could jets have been mistaken for a UFO? No, the answer is negative. Okay, awesome. I think jets in the distance, putting out flares, some of the activities that jets do can be mistaken for UFOs. But I think if you see an F-16 flying by right over your head, it's very identifiable. And if you see a giant Walmart-sized building or supermarket Walmart-sized building, and it's totally quiet, I think, it looks differently than an F-16. So let's listen to that. Listen to this.
I used to think the people that saw this and came on camera and said this kind of stuff, I thought, man, these guys need some help, But it happened to me, and I can't change that. I had a hard time dealing with it, but...
So you looked out all the way in that direction, you didn't see the edge.
Looking up, Ricky said he could not see the edge of the craft in any direction.
You couldn't see the edge of it.
couldn't see the edge of it. But I do know this, it's bigger. You could have landed an airplane on that, I believe.
God, it's an incredible story.
Nothing, no sound, no when it was hovering, nothing when it moved from left to right, and nothing when it took off. And
holding his rifle and sometimes actually looking through his scope.
Okay, so now going back to this interview, it's just amazing. This witness account from Ricky Sorrells just seems like a regular, normal dude. Why would he lie about this? And he's up close, looking through his scope actually at the object. And yeah, let's just listen to this. It's amazing.
God, it's an incredible story.
nothing, no sound, no when it was hovering, nothing when it moved from left to right, and nothing when it took off. And
holding his rifle and sometimes actually looking through his scope, Ricky stood under the craft for about 3 minutes.
I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but
No, I certainly haven't.
I've been in only very few times in my life, but I had to slow my mind down to actually think about what to do with it, the information that I was receiving for the first time. And that's what I did. I studied it. I seen no nuts, bolts, rivets, seams, no welds, none of this. It looked like a piece of sheet metal. It wasn't shiny. It was a dull, I don't know what you call it, matte finish maybe. And this is what I had a hard time with, was if something was to leave, in my mind, it should pivot up and go like an airplane would. This did not do that. This stayed completely flat, and it went at a 45-degree angle away. And it took off at such a high rate of speed that no way I can describe it. As if I would have blinked, I would have thought it just disappeared.
So he's standing under it. He says just a few hundred feet. He's looking up, just staring at it. Can't see either side of it. There's no sound. And he has a look at it, and it's that gunmetal gray. The other interesting part is how it departed. Basically just light speed at a certain angle. And so this part here is the actual radar returns. Okay, so what you're seeing here is each one of these black dots is a hit on the radar, and the radar spins at a certain rate, right? So it tells you what is the speed of this object. So here's the radar returns, and I don't know what new information has come out, but this is from Jamie Foxx's video. 7:03 p.m. to 7:10 p.m. object disappears from radar, so basically misses here. This could be there could be something in the way, right? You need line of sight with radar, but then it's picked up again. 7:32 p.m. possible rapid acceleration to 532 miles per hour in 30 seconds. Okay, so what's 530 divided by 30? 17. And so that's about 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. That's about how fast that is. So still possible, but very difficult to do for aircraft, right? And this is amazing. De-accelerates. Okay, so this is an amazing maneuver right here. De-accelerates to 49 miles per hour in 10 seconds. What is 500 divided by 10? That's going to be 50 miles per hour increase per second. Decrease, right? So that means it's slowing down. I mean, that is amazing, amazing deceleration. The plane can't do that in the opposite direction at those sorts of speeds. Just can't do that. That's 50 miles. So that's basically 0 to 100 miles per hour in 2 seconds. That's, roller coaster like speeds right there. So if that's accelerating and deaccelerating like that, that is certainly signs of the 5 observables, right? Instant acceleration, or acceleration that we currently can't understand how it could work. This is a physics that we can't understand. The other interesting part here, if I move it forward a little bit, I'll just play it so you can hear it.
2008, Robert Powell and Glenn Schultz received radar data from the FAA. This image was created directly from that data. Each black dot, and there were over 140, represent radar confirmation of an unknown object whose flight path is seen heading towards Crawford Ranch.
Okay, so that's amazing, right? So you basically have unambiguous, amazing maneuvers here, amazing acceleration. It's large enough so it's picking up radar hits. I'd be curious to know what kind of radar was picking this up. And if you look, the UFO is headed straight for Crawford Ranch, okay? It's Crawford Ranch. Like I said, where George Bush was, and then it's just creeping around on the outskirts, on the outskirts of Stephenville, creeps up, sneaks up, anything going on, and then turns into a massive arch, and then a vertical line, and then splits in two. No big deal. And I wonder, that is not exactly what Ricky Sorrells saw, right? Ricky Sorrells said it was a super Walmart-sized object, gunmetal gray, and then went away at a 45-degree angle. So how many objects are there? How many different things were seen? Is anything being investigated? Okay, the military was involved in this. The U.S. Air Force obviously launched fighters in this engagement. It happened in 2008. So this falls in between the purview of 1996 to modern time, or 2023, of AARO. All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, led by Dr. Kirkpatrick, should be investigating this, right? So if there's any witnesses, military witnesses to this event, any pilots that want to talk about it, what did they see when they were intercepting? What did they see on their radars? Anyone at all that has information about this can now go to Kirsten Gillibrand. I would say go to her first, and then hopefully she at least writes down your name, so when it gets to AARO, they keep track of that. Hope you guys like this video, Stephenville UFO. I've researched it a few months back and happy to see it again out in the news now. Interested to check out that National Geographic UFO show. Just amazing accounts by Jamie Foxx, man. He's done some amazing stuff with the Virginia account. How do you discount all these witnesses? How do you discount these witnesses? Supermarket-sized flying objects with no sound. I mean, so many of the instances are the same. Are these people really talking to each other? Do we have nuts setting this up? You know, I just can't believe it. So this is in the purview of Aero. They should be investigating this. So let's keep them honest. I hope they are. If anyone has any more information and you do want to get videos to me related to this or any other UFO event, you can go to our Discord. Discord links are in the description. May be difficult to get on, but please work with us. Or you can email to chris.lato16@gmail.com. But I do get a lot of videos. I get a lot of emails. And again, I don't have any sponsorships on this channel. That may have to change in the future. I'm making less than minimum wage, which is all right because I don't do this for the money. But I do appreciate all your support. Please smash that like button if you do like this content, and then subscribe to get notifications. And to support the channel, join the rest of these fine people over here and get exclusive backstage content. I released another video just last night on my backstage actual process of how I make videos. See you there. Take care. Peace.